everyone, live from Uzbekistan, Samarkand. I'm so happy to share my journey with you, my journey in the World Rapid and Blitz Championships. Today was day one of the World Rapid Championship. I've played 4 rounds. The open sections play more rounds per day, so it's a little bit confusing, but I only played 4 today. And I'm super excited to share those 4 games with you. What happened? How did it go? So the way that the recaps will go as of now, what we'll do today is I will quickly go through the games and I will share some of the key moments that I think were really crucial to understand what went wrong or what went really well. So we'll just stop at some key moments and I'll discuss a little bit there. Usually recap is where you go over every single move basically. So this time it's going to be a little bit different because the games are super fast paced. So for those who are wondering, the time control in Rapid is 15 minutes plus 10-second increment. So it's really fast paced and at some point you're just blitzing out the moves essentially. So let's take a look. Game 1 was against Elvira Behrendt from Luxembourg. She is a woman grandmaster and she is very strong. She is actually higher rated in Rapid than in Classical, which is really interesting to me. And a quick search on her games as the pairings were published a couple of hours before the start of the round. A quick search showed me that she actually plays a lot of Rapid games and she seems to be really good at it as well. So I knew I was up for quite a tough challenge here, but anyways, super excited to play against such a strong and experienced player. So let's take a look how this game went. So this game was simply a really slow-paced game, really solid. I was simply taking control on the center and my opponent was simply double fianchettoing the bishops and I took control of the center rather quickly. So I have a lot of space. I was really confident about this because I thought, okay, I mean, what can go wrong here, right? But after rook e1, in this situation, I made the mistake of playing d4. It's not the end of the world, but this is where things started to go downhill pretty badly. As after d4, she was able to play c3. And I was initially really happy to face this, but after d takes c3, bishop takes c3, it turns out that she can easily play the move d4. Just to quickly rewind, I should not have played d4. Simply a move such as rook e8 would have been more than fine, controlling the center and keeping the tension in the center, most importantly. So I played d4, c3, and after take 6, I thought I was really happy with this position, but yeah, after c5, it turns out that me stopping d4, I'm not actually stopping it because rook c1. She played a move rook c1, putting the rook on the same file as the queen. And this is where I started to realize that she's actually able to play d4 or b4 any moment now. So that was a really sad thought. Because if I play, let's say, queen d6, knight c4, and I have to retreat again. So that's pretty useless and I'm losing the pawn on e5. So that pawn on e5 has become quite a weakness. Let me go back to the position. So here, rook e8, I'm taking it easy, but she strengthens it with b4. I played bishop f8 because I did not like capturing on b4, allowing bishop takes e5 discovery attacks. Did not seem good at all. But here, knight b3, apparently mistake, but I thought I was already completely losing here. I played queen d6 thinking that I have to step out of this file, but yeah, she can already guess things went really wrong here. And here she made a really amazing move. Bishop takes e5. Simply capturing that pawn because there are a million tactics available for my opponent. Bishop e6, and I'm just not able to capture that knight because of d4 and I lose the knight. So I hope for the best. I'm trying to create some counterplay, but here she sacrificed the knight again because e5, another fork in a position, and I just don't have many pieces left and all my pawns are being captured. I was very hopeful that there are some chances here, but simply because my knight is out of the game, I'm simply completely losing. Was this knight maybe on another square? I maybe had some opportunities to come back here. as there are not so many pawns on the board, and you know that if this pawn would have been captured off the board, maybe I have some drawing chances, but that is wishful thinking, of course. So anyways, this is how the game went, and after queen takes rook takes knight b8, I resigned here because I thought, okay, she is capturing that the next, my knight is simply unable to develop, this pawn is moving forward, so that was a loss in the first round. It was a pretty unlucky game. I was pretty upset about it because I got literally obliterated, and it's not really fun to start with that. But okay, you never know what will happen in the next few rounds. This is just one of, I believe we have 11 rounds in Rapid. So yeah, I wasn't feeling too bad about it, but okay, not a great start. So what about round 2? Let's take a look. So in round 2, I faced Alina Bivol, and she is a super strong player, international master, and I've played, I believe, against her quite a few times online. Not sure what our head-to-head score is, but I know she's very strong, so I knew that I was up for another tough challenge. And I started with e4, e5, knight of 3, knight c6. This was the real Lopez, and anyway, she went for this line with knight g7, where she goes knight to g6, and I was not really sure what to do about this, so I thought I'd just play c6, d6 was played, d4. Let's just go quickly over the moves. I'm really surprised to see, by the way, that bishop b3 is not the best move. Apparently you just retreat to c2 directly, but okay. Let's move on. Bishop e7, a4, and here she made the move rook b8. And as you can see from the board, it says that it's a blunder. Well, at the board, I had no idea. So I played a takes b5 with the idea that, oh, I'm opening up the a file. I don't really know what else to do, and I mean, having a rook on an open a file is really nice. It's always a good idea to have rooks on open files. So I thought, why not? And otherwise, I faced knight a5, and I don't want to deal with that. So then, in this moment, she started to spend a lot of time, and I was like, why is she not recapturing immediately? And then it hit me. Her knight on c6 is trapped. So let's say if she had played a takes b5, d5, and the knight is trapped. It literally has no safe square to go to. So I was really surprised to see that this knight is trapped on c6. I've never seen it in my life, you know, at least in my games. So then she took with the rook eventually because she doesn't want to lose that knight. But now bishop a4, and she's definitely losing material. If she moves the rook, d5 will follow, and she loses that knight regardless because of the pin on the king. So that's why she took on d4, trying to create some counterplay, but here I just took that rook off the board. I was considering to move other pieces to either take or knight takes or knight a3. I did consider some other options, but I thought, you know what, I'm just taking the piece off the board. I'm up material and I'll figure it out. I play rook a8 to pin the 8th rank. It looks really funny, by the way. But yeah, the game went on, of course, because this is not the moment to resign with black. She tried to fight and she did an amazing job at making my life really difficult. So she's trying to open up the position. She's targeting my king, not just yet, but she is eyeing on it. You see in the diagonal, not really pleasant. So rook d1 takes, knight f4, and here I went with knight g5, which is apparently a huge mistake. I'm still better, but I made it very difficult for myself. So apparently I just had to move my rook because the idea of the move knight f4 is that if were I to take here, queen takes, knight takes, and I face knight e2 check, and I lose the rook. So that was the idea behind this move, very tricky. So that's why it was a little bit tricky over here, but I wanted to go for this attack on the pawn on f7, but I didn't think that her move d5 was going to be this strong. So I calculated all of this. I played g3, but I didn't expect queen f6. So the idea is that after, let's say, g takes f4, queen takes f4, she's attacking my rook and the knight, and my queen is very exposed. Doesn't look very nice, right? So I played h4, defending my knight on g5, knight d3. I have to play rook f1 because the attack on the pawn is very dangerous. So h6 was played, and here I took on d5, and I was not really happy with my position anymore. Of course, it's really difficult for me to lose this still, but I was very sure that bishop takes d5 would happen, queen takes, and then knight b4. So the knight is attacking my queen, so my queen would have to leave. And I did calculate all of this, that I'd have to take here, because I'm losing my knight anyway. And this way I'll have rook and 5 pawns versus knight and bishop with 3 pawns. And I still thought that I had winning chances here, but of course it's going to be much more difficult than it should have been. So anyways, knight takes e5. I spent quite some time here. You see I spent 3 minutes here and I only had 48 seconds left after this. And here she played queen d4, which I was really amazed about because I thought, wait, I did not consider this move at all. I really thought that bishop takes d5 was a crucial move. So bishop takes d5 was not played. She played queen d4, and here with 40 seconds on the clock, I was like, what do I do? And then it hit me. I was eyeing on this pawn f7 all this time. So knight e7 check, king h8, queen takes, and here she resigned because checkmate is unstoppable. Had she taken on e7, I would simply take on f7, king here, and then it would have been checkmate regardless. So yeah, that was a really, really, really nice game. It was pretty messy and chaotic at some point, but I was really happy with the result. Really stressed, by the way, because I was so sure I would somehow throw the game, which I was actually very close of doing so. But yeah, I got pretty lucky, I feel like, because she blundered early on in the game. And that's why she was in a disadvantage for the rest of the game. But all in all, really happy with the result. And yay, I beat an international master. So let's move on to game 3. In game 3, I played, sorry for the pronunciation, Shengjin Zhao. She is from China. She is, I believe, 1 year younger than me. And her rating is, her rapid rating is 2300, which I was really amazed about because that's just a really high rating in rapid. So yeah, that was pretty intimidating, but I thought, I mean, I've just beaten IM, so I feel like I have good chances in this game too. And before the game, I saw that she is playing the Najdorf most of the times. Before the game, I mean like 1 minute before I entered the playing hall, I looked at the pairing, quickly checked what she plays, and then I saw that she mostly plays Najdorf, so I was like, okay, what do I do against a Najdorf? What do I do? Because I have no access to anything whatsoever. I don't have my laptop with me, you know, of course, so that's why it was really difficult for me to prepare before the rounds. It's really difficult. It's really fast-paced. So yeah, I just sat there at the board thinking like, okay, what do I do against a Najdorf? And then I was just like, let's just do whatever I play most of the times. I went for this line with queen d2. So I'm not playing the main line in the English attack with f3. I'm simply going long castle because if any sort of knight g4, I'm okay with that because I have different plans in mind. I'm okay giving up that bishop. It's a different sort of line. Anyways, let's move on to some of the most important moments in position because this was pretty standard. We were both attacking. I'm attacking on the king side. She's attacking the queen side. I'm stepping away with my bishop. My knight goes forward. And apparently I am not doing well here anymore. Really crazy to see. But after a4, my knight goes back. And here she went with e4, which is apparently not good. She had to play a3 here, which is pretty typical to play because her play is on those dark squares over here. Those dark squares get pretty weak pretty often. So e4, I go back, knight goes here, and here I went for the attack. And I was really confident about my chances here. As you can see, I spent quite some time, okay, 2 minutes, not too bad, but I did spend some time on deciding whether I should take on b6 or not. But I decided to take on, I decided to play g5 and allow her to capture my pawn, and I'm just going all in here. I thought it's now or never. If I don't do it now, it's not going to happen anymore. And that's why I went for this. And after long thought here, I went for bishop h6, which is apparently just a disaster. And the reason why is because a3 now. And I actually, so for the longest time, I thought I was going to play bishop d4, but I didn't really like that she could maybe trade it. Queen f6 comes to mind after that. And then I was like, okay, I don't really like it. I want to keep that bishop on the board. And I was seeing some ideas with bishop h6, but I completely underestimated, or actually even worse, I completely forgot that her idea is to play a3. So when she played it, I was like, oh, I was calculating like rook e8, bishop b5, then I give a check, and I want to give to put a rook on g1 and maybe try bishop g7 and stuff like that. But if she doesn't do any of this and she just plays a3 and goes for the kill right away, I don't really have time to attack because she is okay with sacrificing her rook. Because let's say, okay, I play bishop a6, attacking another rook. But she simply takes on b2, but she took with the wrong piece. So apparently a takes b2 is much better. I was also pretty sure that she would play this, but maybe she thought that this pawn was a really nice umbrella for me, covering my king. And I thought after knight e2, I was simply surviving, barely, but somewhat surviving. But turns out that rook a8, and I'm just completely lost here. She's coming in with the knight at a convenient moment. She can maybe like sacrifice on a2 and involve the queen in some checkmate attack. So that's why taking on b2 with the pawn was much better, but she took with the bishop. Knight e2, I was really happy that I could play knight e2. That was the idea of moving my light squared bishop. And after c3, apparently not a great move, but the idea behind c3, it's funny that the engine is saying that c4 was much better, because I did consider it with the idea that after b takes c3 en passant, I'm checkmating because the bishop is now covered with rook to g1. I'm checkmating, but turns out that, okay, of course, en passant is not forced here, unless. But yeah, that was why I thought, okay, it's not forced to take. So I play c3 because I want to shut this bishop down. As soon as I am able to shut this bishop down, play rook g1 and bishop g7, it's game over. So I was really sure that I was doing well here. I did think that maybe there are some issues in my position, but I thought that with 3 minutes on the clock, it's going to be really difficult to figure this out. I'm on 22 seconds, so I'm just hoping for the best, of course. Turns out that in this position, she has to play the move king h8 to get her rook to g8 and simply defend the king. Because as soon as the king is safe, my king is in a huge disaster. She played the move f5, which is, it says that it's a blunder, but I feel like it's another possibility to try to escape with the king. So I give a check, king f7, rook g7, king e8, and here I took on b4 because now I'm attacking her rook. And funnily enough, when I played this, so she was spending some time here. Okay, she didn't have so much time, but when she was thinking, I was like, wait, my rook is hanging on g7. Did not really see that one coming. But I was like, okay, I think I'm still fine if I take back. 2 rooks are still hanging. Her king is still in the middle of the board. Should be fine, right? So yeah, I actually didn't even see that my rook was hanging there. It was really funny because that pawn was covering the rook. And I just moved it. But okay, she retreated to c7, which was a huge mistake because now I give a check on b5, rook d7, and this is simply game over. I take the rook first, then the knight, and after this, she resigned. And that was a really nice finish. I was really happy that I won this game because it was a really stressful and competitive game. It was really exciting, typical Najdorf kind of game. And I feel like I got pretty lucky still, but on the other hand, I mean, it's really easy to follow along with the engine, but at the board, you have no idea what's going on. It's very unclear what is going on. So yeah, that's why I'm really proud of this win. It was really, really tense, but a really nice one. So let's move on to game 4. Game 4, I played against my Narva. She is a very strong player, international master from Estonia. She is from the same age year as me. So we're the same age. And I used to play her like back in the day. I'm not sure if I've played her many times. I believe it's only once from what I can recall. But I know that she is very strong and she got much stronger over the years. So I knew that I was up for another tough challenge. So let's take a look how this game went. So she played e4 and I played my French. Yay! d4, d5, and she took on d5, which is pretty surprising to me because usually you see other moves, but here we are in the exchange French. And usually players that play the French, those that play the French don't like to face this, but I'm thinking that it's just a position, a normal position. I'm not in any trouble. We're just going to play chess. And that is what I really like to see. So she plays knight f3, I play bishop d6, bishop d3. Let's quickly scroll through the moves because not so much happened. I developed my knight out and she had to defend that pawn on d4, knight h4. I'm really being aggressive here because I really like my position. Maybe bishop e6 was unnecessary, but I didn't really like trading here because I feel like I have the upper hand. I need to keep the pieces on the board because she is a little bit cramped over there with her pieces. And here I was really feeling confident. So a4, a5, knight f1. And it's difficult to make progress here with black, but as you can see, this bishop has a difficult time developing. I mean, bishop d2 looks rather sad. Bishop can't go to f4, not to g5. e3 looks also really sad. So this bishop doesn't really have a good square, which is why I am simply, I mean, better is maybe too much to say, but I was definitely feeling confident. And here I played bishop g4, allowing my pawn on d5 to be captured, which he didn't take because that light square bishop is super strong. And I thought that I was going to be more than fine getting my rook on the first rank at some point after the rooks would have been traded, because remember, this rook was hanging. So she would have had to trade my rook on e8, and I would get my other rook all the way to the first rank. Anyway, bishop d2, bishop f3. So she played queen b5 here. She's trying to create some threats in the position, which is really good. My rook was hanging, so I had to move it, and I can't play c6, so that is really difficult. After rook e4, takes, rook takes, queen takes. And here I was struggling a little bit because I was like, oh, all her pawns on the queen side are defended. If they are defended, what do I have? Because I don't have c6 once again. So I just played king h7, getting out of any sort of check because she was also planning to play rook e8 maybe. Here she plays rook c1, I retreat, c4, and here I decided to play bishop a3. I was pretty nervous at this point because I was not sure what to do here, what was going on. But in this position, this is the key moment where apparently I had to take on d4. Really difficult to spot because I'm just giving up that bishop. But the idea is that, okay, first you attack the queen. All right, first you attack the queen. And this queen is trapped. Now, the idea is that, okay, let's say this bishop can attack my queen. So this way there's a lot of attack on the knight, right? So here I would simply take on e3, knight takes and pawn takes. And apparently this is just draw. Like it's really a crazy line and I did not see this one whatsoever. But turns out that this is completely drawn, the material is even, and yeah, this seems to be fine. I can maybe play knight d7, although that feels very weak somehow, allowing knight d5 of some sorts. But I really want to avoid c5, you know? So anyway, quite a big line, but that was the idea, that I should have taken on d4. But I played bishop b2 because I was so excited to take the pawn on d4. I did know that something was wrong with this move, but I just didn't know what else there was. And it turns out that queen takes d4 was the opportunity here to equalize, but bishop b2. And the problem here is that she's coming in with c5. And I have a really hard time stopping that because if I take on d4, c5 will happen and my knight is essentially trapped. It can go back to c8, but then queen takes b7 and I'm losing either the rook or the knight. So that's why I played queen d3, because after c5, I take on b5 and I'm praying for the best. But here I played knight d7 and I did consider playing knight c8, but I wasn't sure what to do after rook e8. And I was really scared that my pieces would be stuck here somehow and I lose material one way or the other. But I think I was mostly hallucinating here because this was completely fine. And yeah, this is really difficult for white to exploit this pin over here. So I actually have knight b6 any moment I want. Yeah, that is not good, Anna. That's not good that you did not play knight c8. Yeah, because knight e7 started to create some issues in my position. It's very complex to play here, and this is where things start to go downhill pretty badly because now rook e8, and this is apparently completely losing already. Apparently there was knight e8, so let's see, knight e8, rook takes b7, bishop takes c5, and here I'm more or less surviving, but still worse. But okay, this is not the end of the world. I could have maybe saved it like that, but rook e8, I tried to go for counterplay, but clearly that was not good enough. she had to stop any sort of counterplay with bishop e3. So she also made a mistake here, but really difficult situation here, honestly. Really difficult as she has really nice passed pawns. I didn't know where to put my poor bishop over here, but I guess that rook b8 is simply a very nice move to stop everything. I'm down a pawn, but those pawns are doubles. This pawn is not going anywhere, and I want to play knight e4 at a certain point. So yeah, bishop d4 not so good because I'm blocking my pawn. But yeah, as you can see, the clocks were very low and we were in time trouble, and I was really struggling to find the right moves. Knight e4, I'm trying to push that pawn forward, and here I played knight g5 because I was simply running down on the clock and I didn't know what to do, because if I moved the pawn to d2, rook d7 stops the pawn. Apparently rook d8 was the way to go, but I was really scared of b7, and after d2 there's rook, so if you take first and then rook c8 will be played, supporting that pawn push. And yeah, basically I was unable to see what to do, but turns out that after b7 there's some insane move, knight to d6 and this move is stopping the rook from going to c8 as well. So here, if knight takes d6, you simply move that pawn forward and you're winning because the pawn is unstoppable. And if knight, let's say, it goes back to d2 to defend, you have rook b8 and you're somewhat surviving. It's still worse, but I've seen worse positions, and that was this position. So yeah, this would happen. I lost a pawn and I'm trying to find some tactics, but they're just nowhere to be found. I took on c4, and unfortunately in this position I'm completely losing because my opponent has 2 extra pawns and this is simply impossible for me to draw. I thought that I maybe still had an opportunity here. As she went rook d7, I thought maybe I have some opportunity to take that pawn and somehow save myself against those 3 pawns. 3v2 is often the draw, but the downside here is, for me, is that my king is in the wrong place. My king is cut off, so this is definitely still losing. g6, and here I was like, yeah. Okay, rook takes c5, rook takes, rook h5, and after king d5, I believe she still played king f3 here. And then I was like, yeah, never mind. Never mind, and I resigned here. So that was a tough loss because I feel like I was doing really well, but she played really well. She tricked me, and she posed some really nice threats, and it was really difficult to find the right moves in under pressure when I was low on the clock as well. But in time pressure, she was the better player for sure, and she won deservedly. So yeah, great first day. I'm really happy about my performance so far. I mean, I'm going into this tournament like 100th place out of 120 players or something like that. So I'm not having a lot of expectations out of this tournament, but I'm just simply trying to have fun, get some good games, and getting in the flow is pretty difficult in such tournaments because if things go really badly, which happened 2 years ago in the World Rapid Blitz where I was not really doing well, it's really hard to get in the flow like that. So having won 2 games in this tournament already makes me feel really happy, and I really feel like I'm in a flow already and that I'm warmed up for tomorrow. I really wanted to play another game actually after round 4. I was not feeling tired at all. I'm just like, I want to continue. I'm ready. I'm ready for more. This was just the warm-up. Anyways, that was day 1, guys, of the World Rapid Championship for me. Tomorrow is day 2, another 4 rounds for me, and let's hope for the best. I hope to record the recaps like this every single day. Let me know down below in the comments what you think of the recap, what you think of the video. I'll try to create more shots of the playing hall. It's really difficult because they're not really allowing me to record my games of some sorts. We'll see what we can do there. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this recap, and I hope to see you in the next video.